You wake up, and something's wrong, but it's not loud. It's not panic. It's not dread. It's not even sadness. It's flat. You stare at the ceiling like it's a riddle you've solved 100 times and still never understood. You tell yourself, I'm just tired. But tired doesn't explain the hollowness. Tired has a rhythm. This has no pulse. There's no smoke, no alarm, no signal. But the walls are already warm. And here's the part no one warns you about. The burnout doesn't come like a wave. It comes like a ritual. And the first part of the ritual is silence. You don't scream. You don't cry. You just begin subtracting. One skipped message, one canceled plan, one smile you decide not to return, and the people around you say, you just need a day off. You're overreacting. You've always been the strong one. And you nod. Because even your rebellion has become mechanical. It's not that you want to disappear. It's that you can't remember what wanting even feels like. So you keep going. You brush your hair. You send the email. You check the box. And the part of you that's supposed to light up just doesn't. Burnout doesn't look like fire. It looks like everything working perfectly. Except you. It looks like making dinner with tears in your throat and no reason to explain them. It looks like answering, I'm fine, so quickly that no one even notices the lie. And that's how it spreads. Because the people who love you don't ask what the smoke means. They say, you're just tired, and you agree. Because tired is forgivable. Tired can be fixed with rest. But this isn't tired. This is something deeper, something older, something that didn't start this week, or this year. This is the quiet fire that began the first time you learned that being loved meant being useful, that being enough meant being needed, that disappearing was the only way to stay. And now here you are. Not gone. Just gone enough. That's how it begins. Not with a scream. Not with a spark. With silence. You start to ration yourself in ways no one sees. Less laughter. Less reaction. Less of your own name and your own thoughts. You're still there, technically. Your body clocks in. Your hands do the work. But you're shrinking inside yourself, cell by cell, memory by memory. Burnout isn't dramatic. It's surgical. It doesn't rip you open. It dissolves you slowly, like ink in water. Like forgetting what it felt like to care about something before it hurt to care. The worst part is, you don't even resist. Because part of you believes you earned this. You weren't sleeping. You weren't resting. You were performing. For months. For years. You were the one they relied on. The one who held the pieces. The one who never dropped the fire, no matter how hot it got. So when your arms gave out, you didn't scream. You whispered, of course. You told yourself it was inevitable. You convinced yourself the world would understand. But it didn't. Because the world only notices your silence when it needs something from you. And by then, you're already gone. You answer messages with emojis so no one sees your voice shaking. You eat to avoid questions. You joke to fill the gaps. You say, LOL, when you don't even feel the shape of your own mouth anymore. And you tell yourself this isn't burnout. You're just tired. You're just behind. You're just being dramatic. But deep down, you know the truth. You are vanishing. Not loudly, not publicly. Just a little more each day. Until even you forget where you were supposed to be. You'll find yourself in a room and not know how you got there. You'll reread the same paragraph 4 times and still not absorb it. You'll cancel a call and feel guilty for needing the silence. But even more guilty when the silence feels like a relief. This isn't laziness. This isn't failure. This isn't you giving up. This is your nervous system waving a white flag. This is your soul choosing survival over performance. This is your life whispering back, I'm still here, but barely. This is burnout, not fire, not ash, just absence. You think they didn't notice, that you pulled away in secret, that your retreat was invisible. But they noticed. They noticed when you stopped over-delivering, when you hesitated before saying yes, when you didn't smile quite as quickly. They noticed when your usefulness dipped, not your joy, not your well-being, just your function. And that's when the distance began, the slow retraction, the missed invites, the subtle disappointment wrapped in concern, not because they didn't care, but because you stopped being easy to consume. You see, the system doesn't love people. It loves performance. It rewards the parts of you that agree to be devoured. It praises your silence, your flexibility, your smile in exhaustion. It celebrates how little you ask for and how much you endure. And when you begin to fracture, when your body finally says enough, they don't intervene. They adjust. They reroute the burden. They find a new reliable one. They say, "You've changed." And what they mean is, you stopped sacrificing yourself the way we liked. Burnout doesn't just happen inside you. It's engineered. And the worst part? You were trained to feel guilty for noticing. You were taught that needing rest is weakness, that saying no is selfish, that slowing down is laziness, that not responding right away means you're unreliable. They built a system that rewards your disappearance and then calls you broken when you vanish. And you believed it. You internalized their metrics. You measured your worth by how much pain you could carry without complaint. You called it strength. You called it love. You called it being a good person. But here's the truth. You were never weak. You were never too emotional. You were never the problem. You were just too alive for a world that prefers its people quiet, productive, and half asleep. The burnout didn't come from within you. It came from a system that profits when you forget yourself. And now, here you are, trying to piece together a soul no one ever made room for. But that ache in your chest, that's not failure. That's proof you're waking up. That's your fire saying, "I'm still here." That's your body asking you not to disappear again. And yes, they will call that selfish. Let them. You survived by pretending nothing was wrong. That was the contract, wasn't it? Keep smiling. Keep giving. Keep going. And in return, maybe someone would notice before you burned out completely. But they didn't. And you did. Not in a headline way. Not in a collapse the room way. You burned out like a story fading mid-sentence, like a song no one remembers how to sing. And now you live in the after. You do what needs doing. You show up. You answer. You perform. But something inside you refuses to light back up. You've tried the rest, the sleep, the walks, the affirmations, but the fatigue remains. Because the burnout wasn't physical. It was mythic. It was the cost of playing a role you never chose, of holding your breath through every day and calling it grace. You didn't need motivation. You needed resurrection. But no one tells you how to come back from being gone. They hand you routines, supplements, workbooks. They say, set boundaries. They say, try yoga. They say, have you considered being more grateful? And maybe you try. Not because you believe it'll work, but because you're tired of explaining the emptiness to people who still think it's sadness. But this isn't sadness. It's the echo of having betrayed yourself for so long, you forgot how to hear your own voice. The burnout wasn't a moment. It was a ritual. A long, slow prayer to silence your own needs in the name of being loved. And now the silence is all you have left. But even here, especially here, something stirs. A flicker. A question. What if you stopped performing recovery? What if healing wasn't a job? What if your exhaustion was holy? What if the fire that took you wasn't your fault? But the proof that you once burned so brightly, you lit the whole room for people who never asked if you needed the light too? Maybe you didn't fail. Maybe you just ran out of versions of yourself you were willing to trade away. And now, finally, what remains is yours. What remains is true. And it may not be loud, but it's still burning.